Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to speak at the event today. My perspective is probably slightly different from the previous two speakers, as I'm coming at this really from an academic perspective. So thinking kind of big picture, why does play matter in cities? And I'd suggest that play matters not just to children, but it matters to all of us in cities. And as the mum of an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl, I realised that I lost my playfulness a long time ago. So when they ask me to play skipping or jump or do something in the city, I feel awkward and out of place and so on. So for me, play matters in cities because it matters to everybody, and it's a way of bringing everybody together. It matters as well because geography matters, and guess what? That's no surprise, as I come from a school of geography. But I'd say that cities are not just the backdrop for our lives. They're not just places where something happens, but they're the stage upon which and through which our lives unfold. So cities shape who we are. How our spaces unfold shapes the lives that we live, and how our lives unfold shapes the cities that we live in. So I think when we talk about play and why play matters in cities, it matters because it leads to two kinds of questions. What kinds of cities we want, and what kinds of lives we want to lead. And I think thinking about play and play in cities helps us to bring those two things together. It struck me when I was thinking about this that way back in the 1970s, before many people in this room were born, a sociologist called Ray Powell wrote a book called Whose City? And in that book he talked about the various changes cities were going through at that particular time. But the big question that came out of that book, Whose City, is who makes the decisions? And I think that question is as relevant in cities today as it has been before. It matters when we ask who makes decisions, because who makes decisions about what kind of play? Who makes decisions about where we play? And we talk about sustainable cities, that's a very big theme in policy making, in academia and so on. And we talk about smart cities, but are we really asking the questions around whose city will those cities be, whose interests are being served, and who makes the decisions within those cities? And I think thinking about cities in a playful way helps us to begin to get at those questions and try and understand who and what kinds of forces are shaping our cities. And what can we do maybe to change those cities? So when I'm thinking about the future city and looking at what people are writing about, three key things come to mind. They talk about sustainable cities. And generally, when they talk about sustainable cities, they're talking about compact cities. So cities that are growing up, if you like, where land is being used more efficiently. But we can ask the question, as people interested in playful cities, what type of growing up is going on in that city? The buildings are growing up, but who else is growing up in that city, and what should we do for them? And how can we use the in-between spaces in those buildings, between those high-rise buildings, to do something different? We talk about smart cities, and we generally refer to technological solutions, sensors, different kinds of technology that shape our cities. But that discourse forgets about human smartness. It forgets about creativity. It forgets about being smart, about the kinds of places that we want to belong in. And we talk about inclusive cities, but we don't really ask the question, cities for whom and shaped by whom, and I think they're very, very big questions that we need to think about. So where is the place of play in this future city that's sustainable and smart and that's inclusive? And the quotes that you have there, those 5 quotes on the screen, which I won't read out, but you can read out yourselves, are 5 characteristics of play. So play as an activity in which the means are more important than the ends, and this brings in Eduardo's point about life being a journey rather than a destination. But the other quotes that you see there talks to the importance of play. So it's about children and different people negotiating how they behave with one another. It's self-chosen, it's self-directed, it's about freedom in the city. It's about thinking, it's about imagination, it's about respite from the daily grind of living in the city. And it involves an active, alert, but non-stressed frame of mind. Play in the city is about health and well-being for all. So to conclude, the question I want you to think about, and anyone coming on the workshop with me today, will think about as cities are growing physically up, what kind of growing up is happening in those spaces? And for me, smart, sustainable and inclusive cities are cities that make spaces for play and allow all those attributes to happen. Thank you.